Hey everybody, welcome to Compassion and Courage, Conversations in Healthcare. This is the podcast where we teach compassionate communication, provide perspective, and inspire resilience. I'm your host, Marcus Engel. My hostess with the mostest is the hotness, aka Marveline. Hi.
Hi. Where did you... I know the phrase hostess with the mostest. Is that like off an old Duncan Hine commercial or something?
Beetlejuice.
Oh.
I don't
Okay.
know. It was probably before that too, but nonetheless, didn't know
here
we
we
were going to
are.
be talking about Beetlejuice so early in the podcast.
Here we go.
Here we are. So I was thinking about this concept of unlearning. You've heard this concept, right?
Okay.
The idea of unlearning.
Yes.
Where as adults, we have greater information, more experiences, better perspective. We've done it wrong a few times. We've probably done it right a few times. And with that greater perspective, we're learning that some of the things that we were taught, no matter how well intentioned when we were children, are just wrong, right?
Absolutely.
Are just wrong. That there's, I remember being taught when I was a kid how wonderful oat bran was, and it may still be, but it was a fad at the time, and I had to learn later that, okay, all of the claims that were made from some of these things have not been really fulfilled. So what are some of those things that we were taught that we had to relearn later or unlearn?
I'm going to the things, what do my children have to unlearn that I taught them? There are things my daughter definitely does better as a parent that I get to watch that I didn't do as well because I didn't know. And she has access to a different set of information. So, she unlearned, maybe and I don't mean anything horrific, but unlearned something and then is getting to do it a different way with her children. That's beautiful. And I look back and go, man, I wish I had known that then.
Sure.
So I think we probably all have something our parents modeled that we have to unlearn and take in new information and do it differently, just copying how it was done for us, how it was modeled for us.
I think about the modeling and culture too, right? We live in Western culture where I'm sure I'm not the only male who's brought up hearing boys don't cry.
Yes.
So then
damaging.
that can damage somebody when, crying is a natural response to pain. And whether that's physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, whatever. And so
a healthy response too.
A healthy response to pain. And it took me a long time to realize, okay, I actually can have emotions the way that the culture is set up that teaches American Western culture males that emotion should be suppressed. I know women are also taught that emotions are to be suppressed. So these are the things that we've got to unlearn. Can you think of other examples?
Well, I'm thinking of entire subjects that were taboo. We weren't allowed to discuss in polite company things that we should have made more normalized. And we were taught as women to be ashamed of certain things. And, so it was humiliating if anybody found out these things. But instead, I think this generation is a little bit more at, okay, this is a normal part of growing up, and it's really a healthy body at work. This is what happens. This is what we do, and boys and girls hit puberty, things happen. My daughter has ever since he was about 8, has taught my grandson get back in the shower, preparing for that smell teenage boys get in their room, where all their rooms smell like locker rooms. She's been preparing him. Nope. You're going to learn how to scrub now.
And part of that is because some kids didn't learn that at home, right? Some kids didn't learn that at home. They didn't know the value of hygiene and cleanliness. They didn't have it modeled for them. I even think about, I had a lot to overcome whenever I started counseling and therapy. I still sometimes wrestle, even 5 minutes before I go into a session with my therapist. I still sometimes wrestle with, this idea that I should be able to handle all my own problems without having any help from anybody else. I should be able to do it on my own. Stoicism at its best, right?
Right, and it carries a shame with it.
It carries some kind of shame, or that this is wrong, or that I'm not doing things right. So these are some of the things that we have got to unlearn in society. That seeking help for mental health is why wouldn't you? If you would seek help for a laceration across your body, why wouldn't you seek help for a laceration across your psyche? Why wouldn't you seek help for a laceration across your heart, not your anatomical heart,
right.
but across your heart and soul? Why wouldn't you seek out some help when a pain is so severe?
When you've suffered some kind of trauma, yes, your body has to heal from it, but your mind and soul do too. I love Brene Brown. If you don't know who that is, totally look
Everybody
up Brene
should
Brown.
know Brene Brown.
Absolutely.
Brene Brown has taught me more about myself in the last several years than probably any other academic, sociologist, psychologist, etc.
Right, and she is very forthcoming with, I've had a counselor for years, and I absolutely go to therapy and counseling, even to this day, as almost a celebrity counselor to the world.
She is a celebrity counselor to the world.
She still goes.
Written so many bestsellers and
that helped all of us. But she's still very frank that she still goes to counseling. There's nothing at all shameful about that. It's just another one of those subjects we were taught, or even if it wasn't stated, it was certainly implied.
Sure.
That, oh man, you don't need to do that.
I would like to think that my legacy with our children would be that they have to unlearn as little as possible from my presence in their life. And you know who I learned that from?
Who?
Rob Bell. Talked about that same thing, that he and his wife have agreed to try to raise their children so they have as little to unlearn in their adult life as possible. And I thought having that intention with your children to make sure that there's no deception growing up, that there's no deception, that there's no guilt or shame, and just that we get to be people, right? We get to be people, and part of being people is understanding some of the things we've learned have been wrong, and we've got to replace those with something that is quote unquote right.
I love that. I love that goal, and at the same time, create an atmosphere that if your child chooses to do something different because they've learned more, maybe you've learned more, nobody's feelings get hurt. We just say, oh, well, I didn't know. We made them wear, my mom was talking to my niece saying, well, we made them wear this kind of shoes, and is horrified that my niece goes barefoot as a little baby. But instead of being horrified, just go, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And let life be, and don't try to no, don't be offended if your child does something different than how you taught them. Be glad they're growing and learning, and it gives you an opportunity to grow and learn too.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this episode of Compassion and Courage. I'm Marcus Engel. I am a professional speaker and author and healthcare consultant. If you want information on affecting your staff and your leaders, please visit marcusengel.com. And we will see you on the next episode of Compassion and Courage.
Bye.